the Ryanair Chase. This, of all the races on Thursday, this one will surely. It's a grade 1. It should be easy to solve, dare I say. At the stage that we're recording this one, I mean, we could record this probably or when we do the live preview on the Sunday, which, like I say, subscribe to the channel, you get notified about that. We could do the preview on the Sunday. We might still not know who's going to run in this one, in fairness. But we've got Factorfile, sort of a shortish price favourite in here. I say a shortish price, 7-4 top price he is. Ile Francais, top price 4-1 in behind, although 7-2 non-runner money back. Gaelic Warriors, 7-2. Protector at 6-1, Banbridge is 5s, even though they said they're going to go Gold Cup. Spillane's Towers 5, although Jimmy Manga said he might not travel with him again. Jello's 12-1, El Fabiolo 7s, Energumene 7-1. I mean, you mentioned the overround on some of the races earlier, but this is typically always the same in a Ryanair because you just got to try and work out who's going to run. This year's a bit harder to do that. I think for me, it's a case of if Factorfile runs it, I think he's got a magnificent chance of doing this. I think after his John Durkan win earlier this season and what he's done since, he's shown everything at the moment is that he doesn't want to be going on a Gold Cup trip, and this would be the better option for him. Even when Valtor came and won this race in the past, you looked at it after his King George run and think, well, they should have run him in a Gold Cup. I'm wondering if that's what Factorfile end up looking like. He'll win this, and we were like, oh, you should have put him in against Galopin Des Champs, but they're different disciplines completely, aren't they? Ile Francais, the fact the connections keep saying they'll go there if Factorfile doesn't, I feel like is a bit of I don't know, like some sort of like pre-festival banter where they're basically just trying to make sure Factorfile doesn't come to this race, because this would be Ile Francais' best chance of the festival. I'd love to see him ripping off from the front. So I'd say whichever one of those two comes, I'd fancy. There is a world where they both do come. On the exchanges, I was looking at the, especially the Gold Cup betting without Galopin Des Champs, and you can get 8 or 9-1 for Factorfile without Galopin Des Champs, which would scream out to me that he can't be going to the Gold Cup, because even for small stakes, he's weak on there. He's like 25s, 28s for the Gold Cup market. And while he can still get a bigger than the 6-4, 7-4 he is in this race on the exchanges, he is shortening up for that race. So I think Factorfile comes there. So I'm basing my judgment off the back of that, Will. If Factorfile and Ile Francais go against each other, how do I split them? I don't know the answer, because Ile Francais should love it provided he handles the undulations. And does he just set it up for Factorfile, or does Factorfile just not have the ability to rein him in?
It's hard to say. I mean, Ile Francais is very much an all or nothing horse, isn't he? He has bled in the past. He needs decent ground to be seen to best effect. I think in a proper Grade 1 championship race, that's what he needs. I don't know. He's a horse for me that I don't think I'll ever find myself backing him, just because there is that worry that he could bomb out. And you don't quite know when that's going to happen. And in the better races, there's more likelihood of that happening. Around Cheltenham, an undulating track that he's never encountered before, might be on ground softer. Well, so you'd imagine will be on ground softer than it was at Christmas time. It's not for me. He could put some excitement into the race, though, with that style. I mean, that would be fascinating to watch. Factorfile, I think, is inherently an intermediate trip horse. I think he's a quicker horse than a Gold Cup horse needs to be. Actually, having said that, Gold Cup horses need to be quick. With Factorfile, I don't think he's a cast iron stayer. That's the thing for me. He and I think even in last year's Brown Advisory, his turn of foot and his pace won him that race against what were, if you're looking back now, with all due respect, not top-notch Grade 1 staying chasers. He just sidled around, and then Mark Walsh pressed the button and he went and won. So I think what he's done this season in the John Durkan and then twice at Leopardstown have suggested that the Ryanair has to be his race. So if he turns up, mightily hard to beat. If he doesn't, Protectorat looks the solid one, really. Winner of the race last year. He's tuned up for it nicely. Looks as if his season's peaking just right. Still maintain the view that last year's Turner's Novice Chase was actually a better race than the Ryanair. It was run a lot quicker. But for various reasons, Ginny's Destiny, the wheels have come off. Grey Dawning's not going to come to Cheltenham, presumably. So it might be left to the third horse home that day, Jello, to be an interesting option. But I don't think Cheltenham and left-handed is really absolutely his bag. I know he won at Newbury in the Denman Chase, but I think he's better right-handed. So he could hit the frame. But really, for me, Factorfile, if he runs here, it's pretty solid option.
I like that, Will, because I feel like that too. Because the LA France thing, the way you worded that there, the excitement of him being in the race, I think that's probably what's taken over, even with me
Mm.
to an extent. Because again, when you bring up about the fact that he's bled in the past and he's bombed out on a few races or whatever, like this is the ultimate test, even for the fact that it isn't a champion chase and it isn't a Gold Cup. This Ryanair has now turned into a seriously good contest. And when we talk about the depth in that champion chase, and obviously there are good horses, we've got an abundance of horses that are rated at a similar figure. I know some of them are like doubly entered, aren't they? Because they've talked about El Fabiolo coming, haven't they? I think he'd be very interesting as a bit of a price, although coming in off the back of a fall's nowhere near ideal.
No.
But he's very defensively priced as well. He's only a top price 7-1 non-runner money back. My worry with Protectorat is exactly as you said, with the comparatively to the Turners as well. I fancied him for it last year and obviously got the job done, again blowing the trumpet type stuff. I kind of want to still be on side of him, but I feel like, especially with the fact that if LA France is in here, Protectorat's going to have no sort of race like he did last year. It'll be something that he doesn't like. And when they ran him at Windsor, for all that he doesn't like going right-handed, and for all that Harry Skelton was bonkers to hold him up at the back or whatever, they've talked about him being a horse that does fight against him a bit as well, don't they? So it's that. I think it's hard enough to go and win once at a Cheltenham Festival. I don't think I could trust him to back it up, but that's not me trying to put people off of him. Just think at the 6-1 about him. It's almost I feel like he's almost a selection you kind of fall back on, as opposed to anyone really wants to believe that he's going to go and win this race. But this looks a real class one. I really do just hope the Fat File comes here, because I think like you said, the intermediate trips is what he's made for. His John Durkan run the start of the season made him favourite for the Gold Cup, which is balmy considering the trip that it's over, but we know how that suits those type of staying types. But now when you sit back and, I mean, the 6-4 about him is probably the right sort of price where he should be. But given these last couple of runs, and it's been over further trips, you kind of think, well, you'd hope that the bookies would have given us a bit more juice about him, but maybe I'm being a bit tight on there and trying to ask for everything. I think he might just be like a Valtour again, going at even money, and you look back after and think, why did I not have more on? So fingers crossed that File comes in. If he doesn't, then Lord knows, they've all got a chance, haven't they? So we'll leave it as that.